Hi everyone again and welcome to lesson 2. Today we'll be trying to learning about the basic format and etiquette of emails in Sinhalese. Uh, Before we get into the lesson, let's try to break the lesson into three parts. First, we'll try to understand how frequently email exchanges in Sri Lanka happen in Sinhalese. Then we will see what type of formal letter format is followed, and then what the informal letter formats are followed. So basically in Sri Lanka, email exchanges in Sinhalese is comparatively minimal compared to the emails that have been exchanged in English. And the reason behind it is that there's a large number of people who actually understand English. So there is, even though there is an exchange of emails that happen in the Sinhalese language, it is usually less compared to the frequency of English emails. So you could see that the frequency of Sinhalese emails is more in the government sector compared to the private sector. So in the government sector, what usually happens is that a letter is being drafted and then it is converted into a JPEG format, and then it is communicated as an attachment throughout the organization or to the relevant parties. However, if there is a necessity to write a letter, an official letter or an email, there is a format that is usually used in the Sri Lankan system, and we could use that system to send emails as well, especially when it comes to things like the business setting. We could use that setting. So let's look at a formal letter now. So if you look at the formal letter, it pretty much has all the components that you would see in an official letter. So number one, you'd see over here is the address of the sender. That's here. So you have the address of the sender here. And then you have this part, which is the receiver, and then you have the salutation that you use. This is the third salutation. So have the salutation dear sir or dear madam or excuse me, or any of that. And then you have the fourth component of the letter, which is the topic. So then you have the topic or the heading is the fourth component. And then you have the body of the letter that you'd be typing, mostly talking about where you have to go or what you want to do or any request that you have. So you'll have the body of the letter here. And finally, you can add a thank you, something to thank them, thanks, and finally you add your signature. So basically there are a few components here. Number one, first component here is your address. You write your address here, and then you follow up with the receiver's address. That's here. And then you add a salutation, dear sir, dear madam. It could be anything. And then the fourth point is you use the topic or the heading. And then fifth, you introduce or you add the body of the letter, and then you add the thanks and then your signature. So basically that's the simple format and also make sure that you add the date right below your address. So there you go. And the date. So if you follow this format, I think it is a format that you need to follow when you write a formal letter in Sinhalese. But in case so sometimes people prefer to have the date or your address on this side. It doesn't really matter, but I think it's much nicer to have all of them put into one side. So usually formal letters are written in situations where you have to for a request or some sort of official work, you could use this format. So if you're going to write an informal letter, which is usually written for a friend or someone close by, you could use this format again. Number one, you can use this is first introduce your address or sender's address, then you add the date, then you add a salutation here, and then the body of the letter. Next, and then again a thank you and your signature. So here the difference between the informal letter and the formal letter is that here you do not have a topic or a heading. That would be the only difference, but then again the language that you use here would be very informal. This is usually written for friends or anyone close by. So those are the main differences. So let me rehash all the things that we learned today. Is that the frequency of emails in Sinhalese is much less compared to English, and when you write the formal letters, the things that you need to look for would be to introduce your sender's email, the date, and then the receiver's address, and then your salutation, and then the heading, and then the body of the letter, and then a thank you and your signature. And the difference between this and an informal letter is that here you'll have your address, the date, the salutation, but then you will not necessarily have a heading here, and then you can write the body and the things, and you can add your signature there. So that's about it, and that's all that you have to know about writing formal and informal letters. So thank you. We'll see you with the next lesson.